In the house is Ricky Flynt, also appointed as Project Manager Supervisor February 1st, 2023. And let me tell you a little bit about Ricky. You don't have any alligators with you. Anything? You're through with the alligators, right?
We're done.
Flynt's worked with the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks in a variety of roles since 1993. Area manager from Mahana. Good, come on, son. In Twin Oaks Wildlife Management Area, associate wildlife biologist for the Black Prairie and Hell Creek WMAs, and also recently served as alligator program coordinator. Wait, has it been 19 years?
Basically 20.
Jeez, how long have we had the hunting program going now?
Since 2005 was our first alligator hunting season.
That is absolutely amazing. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
So you officially retired from the wildlife and fisheries.
It's not a true retirement.
Yeah.
I've just transferred into another state agency position.
So it is, okay, it's in from one state agency to the other.
Right.
I got you. I didn't know if it was outside the purview of the of that department or what. So tell me a little bit about this and making that transition, Ricky. First of all, that I know you're going to miss where you were, the outdoors a lot, but you're not going to be banned inside. So what's it look like?
Well, it's looking great. This program got set up by a great group of organizations who've been fighting, I guess, since 2017 to try and develop this Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund. And the legislature finally got it passed in our last legislative session in 2022. The governor signed it over into law. And I've been following this all along because anybody who's interested in wildlife conservation is obviously going to have their interest in this Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund. So I've been following it and was very familiar with it, and then had this opportunity to move into this position from where I was. And, honestly, it was a very bittersweet decision to be made because I've had a career of over 29 and a half years with the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, and it's been a dream job. I never felt like I was going to a job a single day.
We talk so much about this. We had people like Little John on and all the other folks in here to push this through, to educate the public about it. And one of the things that our template that we went by is some of the other states that have done this and the tremendous amount of success that they have had.
Yes.
When we tried to get something done, and I say we, the outdoor sportsmen and women of this state, you always had to go to the legislature and you just had to beg, and sometimes you'd get it, sometimes you wouldn't get it. But just the money needed to do the matching funds for the federal funds that were there, and also just to be able to do long-term planning.
Right.
Without this trust fund, it was almost impossible to do, was it not?
Yeah. So, there's many other states, particularly in the South, that have similar fund programs going on, and the majority of them have been able to pass some dedicated funding through tax diversion of outdoor sporting products, and that has basically given them the funding they need to continue these programs for a long time. It's something that, it's a goal, I think, of the board and many people who are working with our legislature to get that passed. I know there's a bill in place right now to get that kind of support. But as of right now, we have $10 million in the fund to work with. We're receiving applications. We've already gotten 22 applications, and we just started taking these applications about 2 weeks ago. The application deadline for this first round is going to be February 28th. We do hope to the board will start scoring those applications this week. I'm hoping to get all that information to them today where they can begin that scoring process, and then we'll start the process of deciding which ones are applicable and should be approved.
Ricky, what are the parameters of that? I mean, because at one point we had some sensitivity on passing this, certainly from the Senate side, of private lands, first of all, before we get to the public lands. Are there any parameters on there as far as the applications are concerned?
Well, as far as private land project approval, it must be the person making the application is going to have to prove in their application that the project that is going to occur on either whether it's their agricultural lands or wildlife conservation lands, that those improvements will have to be of a benefit to the entire public. I know there's a lot of scrutiny about using funds and using it on private lands, but there are situations where private lands border some of our state and federal public lands, and if there is something that can be done on adjacent private lands that mimic the management plans and scheme of those public lands they're adjacent to, then obviously there's a benefit to doing something you're improving the overall
That
scope.
could go from deer hunting to duck hunting with those. With that objective, I agree
There
with you.
can be sensitive wildlife species involved. There could be issues with nuisance plants, nuisance animals, wild hogs, kogan grass, all these types of things. And, we talk about this, for instance, you're doing kogan grass manipulations, trying to eradicate it on public land, but you've got it on the adjacent properties that are continuously to encroach onto those public lands. Then you want to be able to get over there on those private lands and be able to do something.
Is there a dollar amount maximum on each application?
There is not. Of course, we have a maximum amount of funding at right now at $10 million, but there is no maximum or minimum. And obviously, it does help that if your application includes some matching funds, and right now, the applications we have in, there's about 3/4 of them have a significant amount of matching funds that are available outside the state of Mississippi.
Just interested, how many do you have in?
22 applications so far.
Really?
Yeah.
22 from across the state?
22.
How about that?
And covers just about every corner of the state so far.
How about that? The funding can be used for a variety of worthy causes, including, let's see here, lost my place here, including worthy causes, including helping to improve recreation and trails, restore public waters and lands, expand conservation education, enhance privately owned agricultural lands and forests, protect Mississippi's wealth of wetlands, forests, grasslands, and other unique habitats. When will the first ones be awarded? Is it a D-Day that they've got to be awarded?
So, like I said, the first application deadline is going to be February 28th. And
that's the deadline.
That's the deadline. We're going to start the scoring process this week, and I would hope that in March, we have some decisions made and start distributing this money. Then we'll start, obviously, a second round. At this point, we haven't utilized. If we 100% funded every application that was there right now, we are not even halfway to the available funds. So there's probably going to be more applications coming in for the rest of this month. Who knows where we wind up? And then we'll start a second round.
You said something earlier. You said that there's a bill working its way through the legislature. For people who didn't keep up with this earlier, I want to go back to the initial narrative on this right after we come back from a quick break here. We'll be back with more coming up next. One factoid here. Outdoor recreation in Mississippi generates over $8 billion in revenue every single year. It helps to support, and I didn't realize this, more than 79,000 jobs in the state. That's most impressive. Let me kind of bring people back or take people back to where we were in the original narrative of this one. And stop me, Ricky, if I'm wrong on any of this. The original concept was this: let's fund this thing without even worrying about going to the legislature and have to battle this thing over and over so we can have some long-term planning. And the idea was to do what some other states are doing, is you would take what was it of the 7%? Was it 2% of the 7%?
Yeah, I don't know what the exact proposal was, but it was a percentage of a percent.
Maybe it was 20% of the or 20% of the, I forgot what it was, of the sporting goods purchases. It would be 7%. The consumer wouldn't be spending anymore. He'd just take a couple of percentages from the 7%.
Yeah,
and
tax
that money,
diversion.
Yeah, tax diversion, and it would go into the trust fund. And it would be on items that qualify, much like when you have back to school, anything on that list, whether you bought a life jacket or shotgun shells.
Right.
Just 2% of that would be diverted to this trust fund. And apparently it stalled and it was balked by the Senate. The Senate didn't want that. I think the lieutenant governor had a problem with that. So they just went with, hey, we'll just give you some money at the end of the squabbling. Are you saying that bill is back and working its way through the legislative process again?
Yeah, there's a version of that, the same plan to do a tax diversion. And, you know, the other states that are doing this, it has opened up the opportunities have just astounding. The state of Georgia particularly has a similar program with a tax diversion, and in 2022, those tax diversions provided $192 million to the trust fund. You can do a lot with that, and most everybody in the state is involved in some sort of outdoor recreation. You don't have to be a hunter or a fisherman to benefit from the actions of this Stewardship Trust Fund. People that go walking, people that go biking, outdoor trails, outdoor education, everyone benefits from it. And hey, if we can produce projects in this state that make people in Mississippi stay in Mississippi rather than traveling out to other states to go spend their money, why wouldn't we want to do that?
At the end of this thing, also, one of the things that resonated with a lot of people in the state of Mississippi was the state parks. And I think parks were taken out of this at one point. I'm not sure if in the new bill they're inclusive. The state legislature did give some money to the state parks. But, I mean, that's a big concept and a big draw for the people in our state.
Yeah, and, you know, the all state agencies, municipalities, non-government organizations, they can all submit these applications. I've already talked just in my 4 or 5 days in this position. I've already talked with 3 municipalities that are in the process of getting their applications in for projects in their cities. And obviously the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, which encompasses our state parks, have the opportunity to dip into this money to provide some improvements of those state parks and outdoor recreation features, as well as the trails.
Well, bike trails and local parks are a big draw as far as community living.
Yes.
Walking trails. We need, with our situation with diabetes and weight in the state of Mississippi, we need more walking trails than just about anything else, and that's good to know. You said the original funding of this was what? Was it $10 million or $20 million?
$10 million was what was appropriated last year.
What you guys have to work with now is $10
That's
million.
what we have to work with for this spending.
Is anything committed for next year right now, or that has to be taken care of in this session?
Nothing right now. Of course, waiting to see.
How do you do your long-term funding? So that means that's the problem we had before.
Yeah, we'll have to, obviously additional funding through whatever vehicle, whether it's a tax diversion or additional appropriations, is going to be necessary.
Yeah, I honestly forgot the name. Is the Pittman? Is it Robinson?
Pittman Robertson. Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah, Pittman Robinson. That is a heck of a reservoir as far as matching funds is concerned.
Absolutely, a pile of money that's sitting out there just waiting to be used in matching funds for these projects.
Let me ask you, because you would know this, and some of our wildlife management, how would you rate them? How much money? They're not like our state parks, but there are a lot of improvements that could be made. Do they need a lot of attention?
Well, let's see. There's
wildlife hunting reserves.
Yeah, so just in the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, you're talking about over 52 wildlife management areas. That doesn't include U.S. Forest Service lands. It doesn't include U.S. Army Corps of Engineer lands. It doesn't include National Wildlife Refuges. All of those entities are operating on separate budgets. But to say that there is plenty of money available out there to maintain and operate those wildlife properties, they always can use some help. And we can always use more personnel. And a lot of times, being able to do things on those properties is limited by the personnel that you have.
You get people from other states who transfer into Mississippi for one reason or the other, and they're active hunters or fishermen and women, and that's an important part of them. If they know this, and I have no idea what the amount of acreage is for public hunting in the state of Mississippi, but it's quite vast.
It is. I wish I had that number right here in front of me, but the amount of Mississippi is blessed ratio-wise in public lands compared to many areas in the South. Public lands are available from Tennessee line to the Gulf Coast, from Meridian to Vicksburg, of all sorts, and a wide array of opportunities and management plans for all those property lands.
To wrap this up, what do you want the people to know as far as moving forward now, as far as this deadline is concerned, which you said was February 28th, right?
Yes. So what we want people to know is you can still get your application in. And don't be so worried about a deadline. If you are looking at trying to get your application in and you think, well, I don't know if I can get all this information together by February 28th, go ahead and keep working on your stuff, because I don't foresee that we will be able to spend the entire $10 million, at least at this point, with the number of applications that have been submitted. But when we get to the second round, we'll have opportunity to look at a second batch of applications. Get those in. If you're in a municipality, state agency interested in some projects, and you can always go to our bill. It's House Bill 606 that was passed by the governor last year. Look at there, starting on line 184, you can see all of the types of projects that are approvable under this Stewardship Trust Fund.
Ricky, is there an RFP form on a website somewhere that you need, or where do you start?
So you go to our website with the Department of Finance Administration, and you can see the application there. You can read the bill, the application. You can look at it and see, scroll through the number of pages of what all is required, get you an idea of all of the different things you've got to get in place.
So it's on the Department of Finance's on their website.
ConserveMississippi.com.
ConserveMississippi.com is where that is. Good. I appreciate it, sir. Now, looking back into 19 years as the alligator guy, you got any stories about that? Look at your fingers are still there.
I made it through 20 years of working with alligators, and even though my nickname is Stumpy, I have all my fingers. And it's,
let's see
to say that I've got some stories to tell, I got plenty of stories. We ain't got time for it.
Well, I would love one, but they probably have to be cleaned up as some of the verbiage that goes on here. But from day one, when the first one went on to how these hunters have become just more sophisticated too. The experience counts even in alligator hunting.
Yeah.
Where was the big? What's the record so far, and where did it come from?
So we keep little records on private lands and public waters, but the largest is 14 feet and 3/4 of an inch long, 826 pounds, taken out of the Mississippi River down in the vicinity of Natchez.
That 14 feet. That's a booger.
Yeah, we got 2 alligators that have been taken down by alligator hunters that were in the 14-foot range.
That's amazing. Ricky, man, anytime you need us, call on us. We got an open mic for you.
Thanks for helping us get the word out, and looking forward to more applications being submitted real soon.
Good job. Thank you, sir. Anytime.
Thank
Ricky
you.
Flynt, Project Manager, Supervisor, Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund.